We're making scrunchies 3 different ways and we're starting right now. Hey guys, it's Elizabeth from ElizabethMadeThis.com, helping you sew something creative. If that is up your alley, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss anything. So today I wanted to talk about how to make scrunchies. I've been seeing these guys everywhere, and what's cool about them is that they're not the old scrunchies from the 80s and the 90s there. They're popping up in all kinds of different fabrics that are beyond the basic cottons and jersey knits that I think we saw when I was a kid. Stretch velvet and rib knits and all kinds of metallics and silk taffeta and sweater knit, lame, corduroy, faux suede, and with a scarf on it, faux fur even. Faux fur, who would think? And then sometimes you'll see them too with these little like ties on them too. So there's all kinds of different variants that I've been seeing with the scrunchies. So I'm going to show you 3 of those variants. We're going to talk about the basic scrunchie. We're going to talk about the one with the scarf attached to it, and also the one with the bow. So you can make a big, huge pile of these for last minute gifts for people, which is awesome this time of year. You could make them for teacher gifts. You could make for your friends. You could have people over to your house and just have a big old scrunchie making party. Like, how fun would that be? Just to have something really simple and easy, but yet kind of different. You know, depending on what kind of fabrics you're using, to just sit around with your friends and just make something really easy. So this is a great project that's great from people who are just beginning to sew, all the way to people who are just looking for a quick win project, something to use up any kind of random scraps that they might have. So I'm going to show you how to make all 3 of those, and we're talking about a little hair hack for my fine haired friends out there like myself. First, let's talk about how to make the basic scrunchie.
So whatever fabric you choose, go ahead and cut a piece 3 by 18 inches, and we're going to sew down the long side of the seam. If you happen to be using stretch velvet, go ahead and hand baste the sides together, because it's going to be a lot nicer for you if you do that. So it's a little fussy to have to do this with the velvet, but it's gonna go right through the machine if you do it. If you do spend the extra couple seconds to go ahead and put those sides together and hand baste them together. Because velvet doesn't like pins. It's a fussy lady. So next we want to turn the tube inside out, or inside out as it were. So I'm just going to use the Turn It All tubes. I've showed these in another video. I love them. They're one of my very, very favorite tools. You stick the tube in the tube, and then you use the dowel to turn it right side out. You can see I've got a 6-inch piece of elastic that's stuck inside the tube. I just dangled it in there and I sewed down one side of the tube, one side of the elastic, so that it's there. And now we need to bring the other side of the elastic through the thing, which I used the drawstring threader to go ahead and bring that through to the other side. And then we need to sew the second side of elastic, once that's all in place, to the second seam allowance. And then we've got to bring the little short ends of the tube back on themselves, and I'm just going to pinch the seam allowances together so that I can see them. And now we have to sew the short ends together. I like to use the machine for this, but you can also do this by hand, and I'm going to show it to you both ways. See, oh, look how nice and neat that seam is, all matched together. So pretty. Okay, so now we gotta sew those short ends together. So I just grabbed a hand needle, and I'm going to show you how you can do this by hand. So I'm just going to sew across that elastic. We're going to go to the machine now, and I am just going to sew a little bit beyond. I'm going to sew that elastic down across the seam first, and now we got to sew these short ends of the short ends of the tube together. This is going to be a little fussy, but you can do this by machine, and actually it's a lot easier if you can do it by machine. So you want to kind of put your needle down there, put those right sides together, right where you're pinching the elastic ends together inside of the tube. And then where you're not going to be able to sew maybe but like half of the way around the tube. And that's going to be the same if you do this by hand or if you do this by machine. So if you choose to do it by hand, then you're just going to put your needle in there. We've matched our seam together, right sides together. We're just sewing the ends of the tube together, right sides together. So I am just going to do a little back stitch to make a little half seam. And then when you've gotten that far, then you just have to close up the ends with a few hand stitches. So regardless of whether you use the machine or your hand sewing to start seam, you're going to have to finish it off by hand. It's just the way it is. But it's not that bad. It's just a few stitches. So I'm just moving my needle back and forth between those two ends. I kind of stuck one end over the other end, kind of folded under the raw edge so that it's nice and pretty. And then I'm just going to go back and forth with my needle until it's nice. It should not take but like a minute, 2 minutes, tops. I used to do this whole thing by hand when I was a kid, making scrunchies that way. Can you believe that? It was kind of silly. Machines are much better. Yay, machines! Okay, so when you're like that, then go ahead and tie off your thread. I just wrap it around my needle and I pull off that knot, bury the knot back inside the seam. It's bow time! So cut yourself 2 pieces, 3 inches by 14 inches, and then fold them together, kind of across the long way, so that those short ends meet. And then we need to cut 2 little bow shapes. So go from that fold all the way to the point and leave yourself about 1/4 of an inch right along those short sides, kind of in the middle, so that you have a nice little bow shape. And when we unfold this, you'll see that you have this nice little bow shape. So you want to sew all the way around it, but leave a hole for turning. And I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so go ahead and do that. And then use your tube turner again to go ahead and turn that guy right side out. And then you're going to have to close up the little hole that's left with a hand needle, just like you did with the scrunchie. Yay, turning! I love these tubers. They're just the best tool for turning stuff really fast and quick. So handy. This is the slightly larger one. And then go ahead and when you've got your bow all ready, you can just tie it straight around your scrunchie. If you want to, you could add some hand stitches just to make it more secure, but it's totally not necessary. And then with this, if you're using a thicker fabric like corduroy, like I did here, you can go ahead and pleat it in the middle. So you don't even have to tie it in the middle. You could choose to just kind of pinch this in the middle together and stitch it to your scrunchie, and that works too. That worked really well for this one because I did not have enough fabric with the corduroy to make a 3 by 14 inch long bow. So it worked out for me. So it's a kind of a different look, but still that same bow look. So now cut off a chunk of your scarf, 9.5 inches long. You can cut it from the end like I did here, or you can cut it from the middle if there's ends of the scarf that you want to preserve. From there, you want to fold that smaller piece in half again and cut up the fold, and then put those short ends together and seam them together with a 1/4 inch seam, and from there you can make your scrunchie like it was. And then take the longer ends and then put them wrong sides together, and then sew them down and then trim that seam, and we're going to turn the seam in on itself and give it a good press, and then that's going to help us make a nice French seam. So we're going to just sew down that side one more time. I'm using a stitch starter right here. I just grabbed a random piece of fabric, and that's just going to keep my fabric from getting sucked down into my machine. And I'm just sewing that second side of the French seam with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then that just finished off my scarf, so that I have one big long scarf piece together as it is again. So yay, there it is. And then we gotta hem that one end of the scarf that's still left raw. So I'm just using a serger to do that, and I set it up for a rolled hem, and then I'm still using that stitch starter again. And then that's just gonna keep it from, so I can get a nice start to my serger seam. So I'm just gonna run that through my serger with my rolled hem, and it will just make a nice finish to my scarf. If your scarf has a different seam finish, then you can just do a regular hem as well. That works perfectly lovely. So after your scarf is all done, all you got to do is thread it through the hole and tie it up, just like you did with the other one. And you can, of course, you can use a couple of hand stitches to just secure it in place. But otherwise than that, you do not have to bother with retying and tying your scarf again. So yay!
So my hair is very fine, even though it's curly. When my hair gets really long, I start wearing it in ponytails all the time, and I get really bored with them. So I'm kind of actually excited about this whole scrunchie situation because it can look a little bit less messy, maybe. I don't know. But here's the thing. If I put this in my hair just as it is, it's going to fall out in about 3 seconds. So instead, just take a clear elastic, pop your hair up into a ponytail. Everybody knows how to make a ponytail, right? Pile your hair up on top of your head. Now now my hair maybe has a chance to not fall out. This will still go as the day goes on, but it's there for right now. I'm gonna take my ponytail, my scrunchie, pop it on there, and it's just something different. I actually really love the scarf variation because wear my hair with vintage scarves tied around my ponytail, especially when my hair gets getting long. I really need a haircut right now, so pretty excited about this. And because I get the same look as if I was going to add a scarf to my ponytail without having to constantly tie and retie it. So I think it's kind of cool to put it on that. Okay, so that was the basic, and that's the scarf. Here's how the bow looks on a human person. This can be a project that's totally your own based on what kind of fabrics you have. So I hope that you give it a try. Shoot me a DM on the Instagram at Elizabeth Made This and tell me what fabric are you excited about with the scrunchie. I'm kind of leaning towards the faux with sorts of stretch velvet and the corduroy myself, but that's me. I want to know about what your favorite is. Go ahead and try this project, and I will see you in the next video. Happy sewing! Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that how to sew scrunchies 3 ways video. There's lots of other stuff happening here on Elizabeth Made This, so go check it out, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!